Today, we're joined by award-winning pet photographer Diane Gollowitzer of Dogs in Focus Photography. She's just released Muzzled and Misunderstood, a love letter to my muzzled dog, a portrait project challenging how we look at muzzled dogs. Let's get started. Hey Diane, welcome to the show.
Hi, Nick. Lovely to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to have you on for sure. And I mean, we have a lot to talk about because you have a new book coming out, which is going to be really, really exciting.
Yeah. Yes. And you wrote one of the recommendations for it. So thank you so much for doing that. And yeah, so the book is about muzzled dogs and it's called Muzzled and Misunderstood Love Letter to My Muzzled Dog. And it is going to be exactly what it says on the tin. It's going to be pictures, portraits about dogs wearing muzzles, having the best time of their life, and love letters from their guardians to these dogs.
So, what motivated you to do this book?
Well, I had a ton of motivations, but the most obvious one was my dog, who also wears a muzzle, and she's, let's just say, she's a challenging dog. Um, I I normally call her a jerk, but we are amongst other people, so I do love her. But anyway, so when I started to muzzle her, I quickly realized that there is a stigma around muzzles and muzzle dogs. Um, and I don't think there should be, because muzzle is just a tool that helps me keep other dogs safe. Um, because because she's a bit of too much of a terrier. So she can go 0 to reacting really, really quickly. And otherwise, in 99% of the time, she's fine. But when she's not fine, then she reacts and it can look scary. She does not bite. So even when she had the opportunity, she just pinned the other dog down. So, but it looks really scary. So for people who are not used to seeing dog fights, which is most of the people, luckily, that looks really scary, and it looks that she really wants to harm the other dog, which she doesn't. But that's another thing. In order to keep everyone safe and happy, I muzzle her, and I realized that people are just a bit more worried and cautious, and they don't understand what muzzles are for. And since I'm a photographer, I was thinking that I could help this stigma. I mean, help debunk this stigma by my photography. So I started to photograph these dogs like about 3 years ago, when I first started to do that. And I really didn't know where it's going to end up and what I'm going to do, because a book really sounded overwhelming. And anyway, who am I to release a book anyway? So there was a lot of imposter syndrome going around. And then there were a lot of things that were coming together, which led to me thinking that I have to do this, and I have to buckle down and do the hard work and get the book out for this Christmas. So that's what I've been working on during the spring and the beginning of summer, and it seems that it's going to be ready by the beginning of November.
Exciting. So, when you say there's a stigma, I guess there's kind of two sides of that, right? Because there's the stigma from other people seeing your dog and what they might perceive of them wearing a muzzle. And then there's also the stigma which maybe makes people hesitate to use muzzles on their own dogs in the first place. So, I guess both are relevant for your book, right?
Yes, that's correct. So while I was in the planning phase, I uh, I I was a training assistant at a local dog training school, and I was just an assistant, so I had no really say. But I was talking to a lady whose dog had like a starter respond, and in order to prevent the dog to escalate. She used a lead on the harness, a trailing lead, and her idea was that when the dog reacts, just step on the lead or grab the lead to prevent the dog to actually bite the other dog. And I asked her, because for me, that doesn't sound safe or feasible. She was an elderly lady, and it was like a young spaniel. And I asked her why she won't whether she thought of muzzle training the dog, and she was like, "I would never do that." And she said it with such a tone that she immediately shut me down, because I was like, okay, so it's not my job to convince her that the muzzle would be a safer, better, more practical solution for her dog, but it just started this thought in me that a lot of people are doing in a great length to train their dog, to keep their dog safe. They're doing everything, but as soon as they hear muzzle, they think that it's admitting defeat, and they think that it's like abusive to their dogs, which is why I wanted to show dogs in muzzles having fun. So a lot of the dog is lot of the book is about dogs playing around, running around, being happy, drinking, taking treats, playing with dog toys with the muzzle on. So these dogs have a fulfilling life. Um, in fact, they have a more fulfilling life than if they would be just shut away and kept on the lead, and this kind of stuff. So this was one of the really shocking discoveries. And the other one was when I was talking to some vets, and they told me that some people straight out refuse to muzzle their dogs. And I think that's crazy. That's crazy because um, I want my vet and the vet assistants to feel safe in order to do their job the most efficient way, the quicker they can. So I just want them to get over with. And if they are scared to be bitten, how can I ask them to like work confidently with my dog? And it just obviously for I'm really I really respect vets. So whenever a vet asked me to do something, I would oblige, um, unless I have a really strong reason not to do so. But that's just a muzzle. That's seriously just a muzzle. So I really was like, why are people hating it so much?
Yeah, I mean, I am the same way. So, actually, preparing for your book was very helpful for me because it gave me a real, deadline to get my dog's muzzle trained.
Yeah,
so, so that was very helpful. And now, when I have taken my dogs to the vets, they don't. I think probably because they're worried of people's reactions, like you're talking about. They've never really asked me to muzzle my dogs. But I oftentimes immediately when I go in, I just offer them, or sometimes now because I know the vets, I just take them in with a muzzle on. And it's not that they've ever shown aggression at the vets. It just, I just think it makes the vets feel a little bit more comfortable.
yes,
And at the end of the day, vets are constantly at danger of being bitten by the animals that they're treating. So if it makes them feel a bit more comfortable, then like, why not? Right?
yeah,
Like, it's no harm on me. And then with the spaniel that you were talking about earlier, it's really good that you bring that up. And I don't think a lot of pet owners really think about it like this. But when we're working with dog aggression, oftentimes there's a little bit of a rule of thumb that you should have at least two lines of security,
yes,
right? So one might be the lead, one might be the muzzle, or it might be a gate and a muzzle, or a gate and a lead. But you always, like regardless of what it is, you always try to have two lines of security. And the muzzle is maybe the most effective line of security in some ways, right?
yeah,
Because the dog's unable to bite. I think it would actually be really helpful to go through some of the stigmas that people have, because I think even people listening to this podcast, that maybe they have some of these ideas themselves. I
yeah,
think you're right about so many people. I see it from one side more than the other because usually I work with a lot of dog aggression, and so oftentimes I'm in the role of talking to people about using muzzles with their dogs. And the thing that I see over and over and over again is when I first bring up the muzzle and we have the conversation with it, people feel just instinctively very negative about it. Oh, I really don't want to do that. They just feel bad about it.
yes,
And then when they are convinced to start using a muzzle with their dog, it's like a complete 180. It's like, wow, I'm so glad I did the muzzle training. It just makes me feel so much more comfortable. It makes me feel so much more confident because I know I have that security. If, for example, another dog runs up to me or something like that, I know that my dog can't physically
Yeah.
bite them.
Yes, 100%. So, I do understand these people, because when it turned out that my dog is not friendliest dog in the world, I needed to process it, and I needed to go through to flip it in my head as well, to not to think that it's admitting defeat. But there was a really interesting incident which convinced me. So she was already in a muzzle. We were walking. There was another dog that was who was triggering to her, because the dog was really scared, really starey, and staring is one of her triggers. So she started to pick a fight with him. He responded. She couldn't bite him because she was muzzled. By the time I get there to pick her up, so I picked her up. The other dog, who was another terrier, so also a bit of red mist, so he bit her on the side and was hanging off of her. And at that moment, I was like, I'm so glad that only my dog got bitten. So she started she started the fight. I took full responsibility. The other owner felt really bad. I felt so sorry for him. But the whole thing was like, I'm so relieved that she didn't cause any harm, because we have one injured dog, and it was a minor injury, uh, other than having two. So yeah, so I was so glad that she was muzzled at the time, and that really convinced me to use the muzzle all the time. Um, when I was really started to think about this project, I still had my other company where we were photographing motorbikes, and just to get an opinion from another audience who are not dog people, I did ask a question about what do you think when you see a muzzled dog, and all these people came back with all these things. So the most common thing they said that, oh, the dog must be vicious. You must train your dog. The owner failed their dog because they never trained them. I mean, my dog is a trick dog champion. You can't say I'm not training my dog. If she could be trained not to react, she would already be trained. I mean, I'm not the best trainer in the world, but I'm quite capable of training my dogs, and training is not always the answer on its own. And even if training is the answer, then you still need, as you said, these barriers of safety. So yeah.
Well, the muzzle is like for me, the muzzle oftentimes facilitates the training, right?
Yes.
Like, because people are starting to feel more confident,
Yes.
they feel like they can go into situations they might otherwise really avoid. Like a lot of the clients that I work with, but when I first see them, they have really got into this avoidance mode where,
Yes.
they're avoiding a dog that's, hundreds of meters away because it just is quite triggering for them. So sometimes the muzzle can kind of empower people to do that. But I think you touch on a really important theme, which is like this feeling of like failure, which a lot of people seem to experience. Like if I put a muzzle on my dog, it's almost like admitting defeat. Like that's
Yes.
what I think a lot of people think, which is, is really not the truth. Like I said, it facilitates the training. So,
Yes.
often there are actually many dogs I work with, I wouldn't want to do it without a muzzle. It just wouldn't be safe. Like it wouldn't be safe to go through the training. It would be taking so much unnecessary risk um in the training process. So yeah, it's just part of the process for me.
Yes.
And then even for dogs that have to wear a muzzle long term, there's oftentimes reasons for that. And even if the reason is the dog is a bite risk, doesn't necessarily mean that you're a failure. It just means that you're being responsible with your dog. There is I kind of feel both sides of this because I'm very into practical training. I really think that we have a real duty to be like very practical, pushing forwards, trying to make progress with our dogs. So that's one side of me says that, and the other side of me says like we do still need to have some realistic expectations. Like dogs are still dogs. They're not robots. They're not even humans, right? And we wouldn't put this expectation on any other kind of animal. If you had a ferret that bit, or even a horse that bit, it's like you wouldn't. I don't know. I don't think you take it so personally,
Yeah,
right? We seem to have like a very high bar for dogs specifically. And I'm not saying, hey, don't do any training. Obviously, go do as much training as you can. But equally, I don't think you have to take it so personally.
yeah,
Dogs are
yeah.
still animals.
Yeah, I think it was in Jane Donaldson's book, where she describes this whole Disney idea that it went wrong with Disney and all these stories where the dog is our best friend and we understand each other without words and stuff, or we talk to the dog and they understand 100%. They just can't talk us back, and it's just such a fake idea, and it's like. It's not real dog ownership. Um, I trust my dog. She's a really good dog, but I still I still have limits. So if I would do something to her that I know would hurt, uh, she never ever showed any aggression towards human, not even nothing. I would still muzzle her. I would still don't trust her because I mean, yeah, she's a dog.
I think it's this cultural idea, isn't it? That
Yes,
if you have an aggressive dog, you're almost a failure of a dog owner.
yes,
Like it's a reflection of your bad raising of the dog or bad, you know. So, and I think that's really sad. And I experience it so much. I think because we have this cultural idea that it's the cultural idea that everything is environment. Like nothing is genetic. Everything is, hey, if your dog does that, it's a reflection of your personality or
yes,
whatever. And that really makes people feel terrible because then they're like, oh, if my dog has any kind of behavior problem, then it's my fault. I must be a bad human being.
yeah,
It's like, no, genetics are incredibly important. Like, it's not
yeah,
nature or nurture, it's nature and nurture. And
yeah,
I see this even in, like, actually, it's interesting recently because I've had a few puppy classes where people have had siblings,
yeah,
and it's interesting how even in the same litter, you can have one sibling that's very confident and one sibling that is more on the nervous side. They've been raised exactly the same. They even have the same parents. But with that little bit of genetic variance, even in the same litter, you have a different kind of personality emerging. So
yeah.
genetics are like so, so important. And that's also why, you probably the most important decision you can make with your dog is the selection in the first place, getting the dog that suits you.
Yes. So yeah, genetics is really, really important. And my friend who helped me a lot with this book, her dog is in the book as well. And that dog was a rescue. The mom was rescued in Romania when she was pregnant. She had a litter of puppies, and they brought over the whole litter of puppies, and they were lovely. And she's a real dog person, so she raised her lovely and everything. And when the dog turned adolescent, um, he started to be reactive. And when you think of it, everything he did would have been perfectly fine on the streets on Romania. So he didn't like people close to him. He was guarding his space. He was guarding his food. He hated other dog, reacted on the lead. So he off lead as a street dog, he would have been fine. He would have just taken himself away. But because he was like forced into this home, I mean, and I mean forced not in a bad sense, but he was confined in a home and was needed to be on the lead. Uh, he needed to react because he didn't feel safe. And it actually got really bad. And when they had a baby, they needed to put him down. So that's a really sad story that's in the book as well. And it turns out that his litter mates, one of them had behaviorally euthanized as well, and the three remainings are reactive as well. So yeah, genetics.
Yeah, genetics is a really big deal. You know, another objection I get very frequently is, well, if my dog does get into a fight, how will they defend themselves?
And that was one of the things that I was thinking of, and I talked to the behaviorist I was working at that point, and she was like, "Well, if she can't bite the other dog, then there is less chance for her to piss up the other dog." And I was like, "Yeah, that makes sense." Though.
I always find it to be quite a funny objection because it's like my goal is not for the dogs. I don't. I want as minimal harm as possible. You know, like that's my. If two dogs start fighting, I want as minimal damage as possible. I don't want like a tit for tat situation where, well, he got bit, so he, you know what I mean? Like, no, like I just want minimal harm. So
Yes, yes. I think that's such a and again I fell into this trap as well. But I think it's the same when two kids are fighting in the playground and the parents hate the fight but still want their kids to win.
yeah, yeah, it is a funny situation, and oftentimes with my clients, at least, because if we're talking about muzzle training, they have a reactive dog, so it's like, you know, I mean, of course, there's an opportunity for anyone that ever walks their dog for their dog to be attacked, but equally, there's a good chance it's your dog that's starting the trouble.
Yes.
Yeah, so that one comes up really, really frequently. I'm trying to think if there's any other objections that people have. I guess another one is, oh, my dog will hate. I'm really worried my dog's going to hate wearing the muzzle or be very depressed when they're wearing the muzzle.
Yes, that's a big one. Or they think that the dog won't be able to eat or drink in a muzzle, which obviously with a well-fitted muzzle, it's not a real objection. Um, but that's why I think muzzle training is really, really important. And there are now so many clever ways to train a dog to love a muzzle. So just the other week, Trick Spaniels is the Instagram account. She released a video of a really creative muzzle training, which is looking at it. It's a really high level training, so I don't think your average owner would be able to do that. But they would be able to do easier type of training where you put the squish cheese in the muzzle and you just take it very very slowly. And dogs love the muzzle. Yeah, I have two dogs. The one that needs to wear a muzzle, she's fine with it. She doesn't mind. The other one, he hates everything on him, but he hates his collar as well. So it's not like if he would need to wear a muzzle, I would just put it on him and he would hate it. But again, he hates everything. He hates collar. He hates harnesses. So he's just really like body sensitive in this way. Um,
Initially, obviously, you're creating a positive association,
yes.
usually with muzzles as with food, because it's very convenient, isn't it? But
Yeah.
then eventually, oftentimes, it just becomes another piece of equipment that represents we're going for a walk, right? So,
Yes.
like, a lot of dogs start to get excited. Oh, I'm going on a walk because they've got the muzzle out. Just the same way as like when you would get a lead out, a lot of
Yes.
dogs will get excited.
Yeah, so so my girl, she has this really patterny brain, so she knows that she can only get out of the car once she has the muzzle on. So she kind of like, I'm not saying she's asking for it, but even every time I take her out without the muzzle because of something interesting. She seems a bit confused, so she always waits for me to present her the muzzle and puts her nose in. So at that point, I made even though it's a no choice situation, so it's not like it's not cooperative in that way. But I always get her to put her nose willingly in it, because otherwise you are not getting out of the car. That's it.
Yeah, totally makes sense. What has been your experience then when you are walking your dog in a muzzle? How do people tend to react, or what kind of stories have you heard?
I personally didn't have many bad experiences. I'm probably just very lucky. And if you see my dog, she's very, very wiggly. She doesn't look like the jerk she is. So people normally assume that she wears a muzzle because she eats stuff. Um, so I did not have. I probably a couple of times people across the street, but that's fine. But I did have people who I photographed for the book who got abused and verbally abused, and yeah, and it was quite bad. And people crossing the street, that's quite frequent as well. So especially with XL bullies, um, some people just think that it's all right to abuse the owners, and I even heard it with X-racing greyhounds. So be, X-racing greyhounds needs to be muzzled because of the really high prey drive. So, and they come muzzle trained, so you don't need to do the training yourself. And there are still people who think that it's okay to abuse the owner.
Yeah, it's crazy to me that people would do that. It's so mad. I mean, with the crossing of the road thing, I mean, I get that with my dogs anyway, even without the muzzles. People are avoiding me anyway. And to be honest, in the beginning, when I first started having kind of guarding breeds, um, it kind of bothered me a little bit. I guess in the beginning, I was like, oh, you know, my dogs are fine kind of thing. But as time went on, I'm kind of like almost grateful for it, because what dog owner doesn't want more space? Like, what dog owner is like, it's oftentimes convenient. It's like, okay, give me a bit extra space to get through this path or whatever is no big deal to me. Also, I mean, I must admit, if I saw a dog coming towards me, especially if I have my, probably less so if I didn't have my own dogs, but if I have my own dogs, I probably would give them a bit of space, because potentially they need it, right? It's hard to know without having that conversation with someone why the dog is muzzled.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of time it's not personal, but a lot of people are thinking that my dog is muzzled, especially if it is muzzled because of the legislation. Uh, my dog is muzzled. My dog is not vicious. Why do you think my dog is vicious? You shouldn't think that. So it's a lot that is going on in people's head, and yeah, I think that is also what's happening. So
I think that's the kind of tied in again with the stigma of like it being. I think sometimes people think like my dog isn't aggressive, and that's a reflection on me. Do you know what I mean? Like it's
yeah,
again, it's like almost an insult if you're claiming that my dog might be reactive.
my dog is not reactive. My dog is still forced to wear a muzzle. I hate the muzzle. So this whole resistance is coming up, and then the other person down the street who just sees a dog in a muzzle and probably thinks nothing of it, just trying to be kind and give more space to them. Then in their head, it's like they take it as an offense, which is again understandable because of what they've been through. It's just not always true.
Yeah, it's interesting, and also you're right about, you're talking about people's attitudes towards seeing a dog in a muzzle, and you kind of touched a little bit on that there. There are other reasons dogs might wear muzzles that aren't necessarily to do with them being reactive or aggressive or a bite risk. Like you mentioned legislation. I mean, all over the world now,
Yeah.
there's in all kinds of different countries, they have different legislations about different breeds have to wear it or wearing it in certain areas. Even sometimes I think there are, if I remember rightly, I think there are even some private companies like ferries and stuff like that.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to use muzzles. So sometimes there's other reasons. Also, a lot of dogs, I think anyone that's involved in a dog world has probably known those dogs that like are a big risk of eating things that they shouldn't eat. There's one that we know of that has eaten like 2 or 3 tennis balls and needed operations. So it has got to the point now where the dog is walked in a muzzle just to prevent them from, finding a tennis ball in a bush and swallowing it and having to have another massive operation. So, and the dog's perfectly friendly. But if someone sees him running around in a muzzle, they might assume, oh, maybe he's aggressive or something. So, or dogs that eat poo, or you get a lot of different reasons, right?
Yes. Yeah, so I have photographed a couple of dogs in Pika, and while if you see a papillon in his tiny muzzle, you probably not get afraid, and even if the dog would bite, you would be just like, "That's funny." Anyway, he was eating pebbles, so that's why he's eating his muzzle. But there is a bull terrier I photographed who has pica, really, really bad pica.
We should explain that term because a lot of people won't be familiar with that.
So he eats things that are not edible. And when he was 3 4 months old, that meant a sock that he ended up at the emergency vet. After that, anyway, so he ate like a lot of inedible stuff that he can't digest. So I think he was made sick at least twice and was operated, was for sure, but probably more time as well. And he's really, really foodie. So that's the problem with him as well. And now it turns out that he has IBD. So he can't eat anything but hydrolyzed food. So it's not just he can't eat non-food items. He shouldn't eat food items either. So, and he's a bull terrier. So when a bull terrier comes to you in a muzzle, you don't think that your first thought is not that, oh, he must eat inedible stuff, but he does. So he has a color which says friendly, which is really, really cute. Um, it's just a way to the mom to try to reassure people that his dog is her dog is absolutely fine, and he's a very, very lovely dog. He's just eating. Uh,
Let's talk a little bit about the kinds of muzzles that are out there because sometimes if people don't know anything about muzzles, I've had it before where people have got kind of inappropriate muzzles for what
yes.
they're trying to achieve, and so maybe we could talk a bit about that.
Yes. So, yeah. So, I want to be really transparent about it. That the book is sponsored by, the main sponsor is Baskerville. So there are a lot of Baskerville muzzles in the book. Um, and they said, but that was also my point of view as well. They said that if they are not going to sponsor the book if there are going to be any dogs in a fabric muzzle in it, because they believe in basket muzzles. And I said, that's fine. I'm with you as well. So fabric muzzles are the ones that go through the dog's nose and make the dog unable to bite by closing the mouth. And if you know anything about dogs, then you should know that this is not kind, and especially in hot weather. I mean, dogs spend any time. It's not just hot weather. These muzzles shouldn't be used. The only reason I could justify the usage if it is at the vet at a really, really short appointment. I mean, no longer than 10 minutes, because it is really distressing for a dog, like shutting the mouth closed. So those are muzzles that I don't shouldn't be on the market. So we probably shouldn't talk about them either. After I spent 5 minutes talking about them.
No,
Um,
no, I agree. I think it's really it would be really dangerous to like take a dog out, run them around, or anything like that for in a fabric muzzle. That's really kind of risking,
yeah.
because you're taking away their ability to cool themselves down. For me, the fabric muzzle is, as you said, it's really for a very short period of time. Maybe you're putting the fabric muzzle on while you give the dog a vaccination or
Yeah.
something like that. It's not meant for longer periods of time. And it's really dangerous for people to not understand that and then go out and get a fabric muzzle for walking the dog or something
Yes.
like that.
Yes. So if the muzzle is required for a longer period of time, it definitely needs to be a basket muzzle. And there are a ton of there are loads of types. And the main thing to be aware of, that the dog needs to be able to pant in the muzzle. So There are ways to do that, but I still think that the surest way is to try the muzzle on. Um, so there are so with Baskerville, it's easier because you can buy them in various pet shops. But with the more expensive brands like the Muzzle Movement muzzles, um, there are a few people who do fittings these days, which is I think it's amazing. Other than that, you would need to like go to the website, go to all the type of, they have like a confusing amount of muzzles, but they are really helpful as well. So you can always get in touch with them and they can help you select what you want, what's best for your dog. And what we need to be aware of, these plastic muzzles, they are customizable. So once you did it, you can't exchange it. So that's a downside. But if you feel that there is a muzzle that would suit your dog, but it's not wide enough and it's plastic, you can boil it, shape it, and let it cool and see whether it's better. Yeah, because it's really important, especially if the dog is wearing it for a longer period of time, like for a whole walk. We want it to be comfortable. Yeah, and there is also this muzzle shop. They are called the muzzle shop, and they sell like really cheap muzzles, but for dogs that are not bite risk, they are really, really good. Even if they are like my dog, she wears them as well um, because they are lightweighted. If the dog really wants to bite, it won't prevent it. But if the dog doesn't really want to bite, you want another a level of protection, it's lovely. Or if the dog is eating unedible items or things that shouldn't be eaten, they have these muzzles with guards where the dog can't eat, but you can still feed the dog.
I think what a lot of people don't realize about muzzles is not all muzzles, or or like different muzzles have different levels of bite proof.
Yes.
And I think people oftentimes assume that all muzzles are bite proof, but
Yeah.
sometimes some of those muzzles that are softer materials as well, they're not really designed to, withstand a dog that is really determined to try to bite.
Yes. So I'm not going to have any biothin muzzles in the book. And it's not because I didn't want it. I really wanted one, but I couldn't find a dog that wears a biothin muzzle. Um, Biothin muzzles are not white-proof. They are just not because of the material. Um, it's really it's really interesting because you still can. They are still muzzles. So if the dog is muzzled by because of legislation, you can still muzzle them with a biothin muzzle, which won't do anything if the dog really wants to bite.
Okay, okay. That's
But
interesting. I didn't know that about the legislation. I guess that was something they just didn't really consider. But those muzzles are, I suppose, still helpful for different reasons if your
yes,
dog is trying to eat things.
scavenging.
Yeah.
Yeah, for scavenging. Um, Yeah, I mean, and they look really funky. So I saw a couple that looked really, really good. I think they look great. It's just and because there is actually something in front of the dog mouth, it does do something, but it's just minimal. So yeah, so they are not safe. Luckily, again, they are not popular either in the UK. There are vinyl muzzles, which are also not really popular here in the UK. I find I found one dog for the book that wears a vinyl muzzle.
I don't know what that is. What?
It's a transparent muzzle.
Oh, okay, okay. Like the ones that are kind of plasticky.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
but see-through plastic.
Got it. Right.
So yeah, and that was a custom order from the US. So yeah, so do you normally need to order them from online from the US. There are Amazon versions, but they are made from thinner vinyl, which makes them easier to break and not as safe again. But yeah, the main brands in the UK that are popular are Muzzle Movement, Baskerville, and Muzzle Shop. And all of these brands have their advantages and disadvantages. Again, I'm very grateful for Baskerville for sponsoring this book, and they also sent me a box of two type of their muzzles. They have another type which I didn't get, but um, anyway, so I have I used a lot of them, and yeah, and they are great muzzles. Yeah, not
Yeah.
funky as some other ones, but they are also at a lower price point.
I mean, personally, I love the metal muzzles as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think a lot of people are put off metal muzzles because maybe they look a little bit harsher or harder, but obviously they're just as comfortable for the dogs because they oftentimes,
yes,
well, almost always, are going to come with the padding. But I just find the bite proof ability of them very good as well. So I
yes,
really like to use those, which kind of brings us on to another point because sometimes people get a little bit too relaxed if their dog's in a muzzle, and that a lot of people don't realize that it still hurts if your dog tries to bite you in a muzzle. In fact, if you want to see this, if you ever see any videos on YouTube of people doing the protection training with the dog is trained to wear a muzzle but still do protection training, it's something that oftentimes police forces use for riots and stuff like that. I mean, it's like getting punched. It's really can
oh yeah,
still really, really hurt. In fact, people call it a muzzle punch. I
yes,
had a client years and years ago. I had a client, and her dog was very aggressive to other dogs. And I said to her, you know, we need to do the muzzle training with the dog. So she did the muzzle training, and then in between sessions, she calls me up. Hey, I'm muzzle training my dog. I took him down the park. I let him off lead, and he attacked another dog still. And I was like, yeah, he'll do that. And I had taken it for granted that in my mind, it was obvious that, yeah, the muzzle doesn't mean like job done, you know?
Wait,
But I guess for some people, they think, oh, if the dog is in a muzzle, you know, it
yeah.
can't do anything. But it can still be very painful and horrible and traumatic for other dogs, certainly.
Yes, I do see people who muzzle their dogs and take them to fairs and dog shows, and the dog and the dog is terrified. You can see the dog is terrified, and they have this like lead slips, like nervous. Why do you have it here? Seriously, it's not the place for a nervous dog, even if they are muzzled. It's just asking too much for from the dog. So yeah, I do think that people. I do think this is an abuse of the muzzle. So it's not. If you think that your dog would be over threshold, then you shouldn't take your dog there. No, it's not just sticking a muzzle on it so they can't bite. And I sometimes think it the other way. So I normally walk the in a muzzle but off lead, and I can see a lot of people. Uh, Not worrying about their dog harassing her. And I think that they are thinking, oh, she's muzzled anyway. She can't hurt my dog. But that's not a reason not to recall your dog. That's exactly the reason, because she can't hurt your dog. So yeah, it's interesting how people are like.
Yeah, I've never experienced that, but that does. I mean, that would infuriate me as well. I can actually imagine some people in the park kind of having that idea because you know how there is a culture of like he's friendly kind of thing, and I could just imagine that kind of person also having that thought too. That's a really good point. Or you know, there's this culture around, oh, my dog needs to be told off. It's
I I really hate that. I literally told to someone that they don't want their puppy to be told of my dog, because that's probably not much is going to left of the puppy afterwards. So it's like,
that's another interesting point as well. Is sometimes for reactive dogs, it's helpful to have that additional space. You know, when I had my first dog, who was a yellow Labrador, and he was reactive for a time, and that was part of kind of my journey of being a dog trainer, was trying to figure out how to resolve that. Um, I used to find that oftentimes with him, I had to exaggerate his reactiveness to just to get people to kind of respect at my space and not let dogs just run up to me. Because so many people will be like, "Oh, he's a Labrador. He must be friendly." And it's like, no, just because he's a Labrador doesn't mean that he can have issues with reactivity. So sometimes I would find myself back then saying to people, he's really aggressive, or using more strong
Yeah,
language just to be like, hey, can you just give me space? But
yeah.
the muzzle, I've even heard of people muzzling their dogs even though that they are very confident they're not going to be a biter or anything like that, just to try to get people just to give them some space.
Yeah, there is one dog in the book who's a service dog, and yeah, she her guardian told me that the main reason for the muzzle is to keep people away. So the dog is absolutely fine.
You have all of these different stories, different outlooks, different ways that muzzles kind of tie in with people's lives. Was there any particular stories that really stood out to you as like, oh wow, that's such a powerful story?
Yeah, so my favorite story, it's not favorite because it's a sad story. It was one of the dogs that I photographed ages ago in the first burst, and it was a Springer Spaniel, a very lovely young Springer who was well, touch sensitive. Anyways, he didn't want anyone near him or touching him, be it dog or people. So he was reactive towards people and dogs who came into his space, especially if they wanted to touch him. And when I photographed him, they did know that something is wrong with him, but they didn't know what exactly it was. And it pretty soon turned out that he had lymphoma and passed away like when he was just 2.5. And he is the poster child of how pain can cause reactivity in dogs that you won't expect. I mean, no one expect a Springer Spaniel to be reactive and wear a muzzle. And yeah, it was a really, really touching story. And yeah, he was such a good boy, bless him.
Yeah, it's always so sad when dogs die anyway, but especially when they die really young. Now, I think listening to this podcast, people might assume that you're a dog trainer, Diane, because you obviously are really interested in dog training, and you kind of are a dog trainer, right? But just you're not a pet dog. You're not like going out there doing classes and one-to-ones, right?
Well, let's be honest. I do have a qualification of I'm a certified trick dog instructor, but I have close to zero experience because I'm only training my dogs. So I'm more. I don't consider myself a dog trainer. Um, I consider myself a dog nerd.
I love that. Well, I guess kind of everyone that's listening to this is probably a dog nerd for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but I guess your main job is photography, right?
Yeah.
Let's
Yes.
talk a little bit about the photography then. I mean, what does that look like? Like what kind, what goes on when you're doing photography? Because most of us listening to this are dog trainers or really passionate about dogs, but maybe we don't really know like what do you do as a photographer? It's a stupid question, but like I
Yeah.
don't know. Do you know what I'm getting at?
No, I know what you mean, and this is because it's really interesting. Yes, yesterday morning I was at a networking event, and I have business cards with my pictures on it, and one of the ladies was like, "Oh, I didn't when you said you were a dog photographer, I expected white background, and these dogs are out in the woods and stuff." So yeah, so I'm it's called a natural light photographer, which means that I don't have a studio. We go out. It's really involved because it's a boutique type of business. So I serve a small amount of clients, but I do a really high level service. So we agree at a location that is close to both of us, or as close as it can be. I ask a lot of questions about the dogs, about their home. I'm going to accommodate the dog's needs. If we need to hire an enclosed field for whatever reason, then we are going to an enclosed field. and I'm going to remove the fence post in the post production, so that's not a problem either. So we go out, we have fun. It's normally a lot of fun, and after that, I get the people in for an ordering appointment. So I do an in-person ordering appointment where I'm showing them around a minimum. I say a minimum of 35 images, and then we go through them, narrow them down to their favorites, and I help them decide what they suit their home, or and what is it that they want. So I specialize in wall art, so I want people to have beautiful wall art on their wall of their dogs, because that's going to make them smile every day. And yeah, so the digitals are always an afterthought for me, because I really believe that you have to have tangible products, because if I just give you a bunch of digitals, they are going to get lost on your phone. You lose your phone, you lose your digitals. I already archived the folder, so it's in order to serve my clients best. I believe I need to provide them with these beautiful products. So that's my main goal. Yeah, that's what I do.
Do you find that people that are coming to you for photography are generally coming to you for the same reason, or they have the same motivations? Is it the same kind of people that seek you out specifically?
I like every business owner, I do have idea clients. Um, but like with every business, there are always outliers. Um, so yeah, my most of my clients are similar to me in a way that they are really invested in their dogs. They are uh, dog nerds themselves. They know a lot about behavior. They know a lot about training. A lot of people choose me, especially because they know that I'm experienced with the challenging dogs, and also if you have a challenging dog, that is a really hard place to be, because before I got Didi, I thought I'm going to be out with her, like out of these fairs. We are going to have so much fun. We are going to be go to pubs and doing all kind of fun things. And when it turns out that I can't do that with her, you feel like isolated. You're like, oh, there is another dog event, but I can't attend because my dog is a jerk, and you feel so bad. And when you have someone who knows this situation, won't judge you, it's such a relief, and feel that people feel understood, and that gives them a lot of confidence, and that helps them to relax. So a lot of people come to me because of this. Um, there are other people who just likes my pictures, of course, but yeah.
You also it seems like you've worked with a lot of dog professionals as well at this point, which I guess but I would imagine that's kind of something that's becoming more and more common because, dog trainers and dog walkers and stuff like that need to have pictures for their own marketing.
Yeah, so I think the reason you fear that is because work really closely with PACT. So they are the other sponsor of the book. So this is the professional, oh, Jesus Christ, Professional Academy of Canine Training, I believe. So their values these force free and R plus. I know you hate this word, but I'm still using it uh,
It's
for the
okay.
general public. So their values are really close to mine, and every year I'm photographing their conference, and I have really good relationship with them, and because of that, with the people who are training with them. Uh, yeah, I just think that it's so good that this kind of kinder training is becoming more popular.
Yeah, okay. So, and one of the coolest things I think I've seen you do as well is how you've done work with people that maybe have dogs that can't be photographed together, or even if they can be photographed together, sometimes it's hard to have your dogs kind of pose in the way that you want them to.
Yes.
and I've seen it where you've kind of edited it so that it looks like they're, sat right next to each other or something like that, and creates really cool photos.
Yes, so these dogs behind me, they were actually sitting like that. So, but that's really rare. A lot of the time, what you mentioned as well, even though two dogs live in the same household, they love each other, they play together, everything. They still don't want to sit next to each other because just they just don't. And that's not a problem. Actually, that's the easiest thing because then I just photograph them and just make the space between them smaller. But if they are not trained, we can always do that. I can line them up and put them together in a composite way. So the most dogs that I did in a composite was six. That was six working Springer Spaniels. So they were just lined up one by one, and I photographed them and I edit them together in Photoshop. But I'm happy to do that with two dogs as well. So I keep telling to people that just because my hobby is dog training, I don't expect everyone to have the same hobby. So most people don't train their dogs after the initial, puppy training classes. And why should they? I mean, if they are happy with their dogs, just because they want to have a photo shoot like in 3 years, not the reason. My job is to get the picture no matter how the dog behaves. This morning I had a lovely Goldie who was like, he was cooperating as long as he was like, yeah, okay, I did it once, but I'm not going to do it for you twice. So I needed to work really, really quick with him. And we needed to make it seem that it was his idea. What he's doing is like his idea, and we did not ask him to do. So, but that's my job. My job is not to make you feel bad because you don't train your dog. My job is to work with what we got.
Copy and, find out more about what's going on.
Yeah, so actually the book is already available for pre-purchase on Amazon and on Waterstone. I'm in the process to putting up my own Amazon page for it because the current page is fulfilled by Amazon. So I want it to be like my link as well. But if you would follow the Muzzle project, that at the underscore muzzle underscore project on Instagram, that's the best place to get updates. And by the time this comes out, I hope that I will be able to include a link to my Amazon page on the profile of that Instagram profile. And also, if you want to have a look at my website, which is dogsinfocusphotography.com, there's going to be a page where you can read a bit about the project and get the book yourself. Also, I'm going to be at the Winchester Cathedral Christmas market for the first half, so the first 17 days. So if someone happens to walk around Winchester that time of the year, then they can have a look at the book, see whether they like it, and decide whether they want to purchase it. I might have a Christmas market special price on it as well, but even if not, then definitely won't be any shipping prices on that one.
Ah, super. Well, fantastic. Thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.